This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
Hello, I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. Welcome back to A World Gone Mad. And it's time for another WTF Wednesday, where the week starts off heavy, so I make it lighter for you by throwing it back in Washington's face. The headlines are absurd, the spin, Olympic level, and I'm here to call it out. With sarcasm, caffeine, and just enough sanity to get us all through Wednesday. Also wanted to let the listeners know, you're not crazy. You did not get a Monday episode from me. The Monday fallout from me was not recorded due to some health issues I'm dealing with. So I don't know if this is going to be a long episode tonight or a short one. And I have a cough drop in my mouth, so I do apologize for that to keep from coughing and annoying you. But I'm going to plow through with this WTF Wednesday edition, and hopefully I can get back on course. And again, I do apologize to the Wolfpack who are looking for a Monday show. Okay, with that being said, here we go. So the first thing on the WTF agenda comes straight out of Europe. And let me tell you, it's not small potatoes. The British Foreign Secretary stood up this weekend and said the UK will confront Russian planes if Moscow keeps buzzing across Alliance airspace. Now, this was after Russian jets reportedly dipped into Estonian skies. And here's the thing. Estonia is not some random patch of land. Estonia is NATO. And that means one wrong move and suddenly every member of that alliance is on the hook. Think about how close that gets us to something nobody wants. You have Putin sending his pilots to poke the bear, and the UK saying, "Poking me one more time," and seeing what happens. This is not a video game. This is not Top Gun. This is the kind of brinkmanship that can flip from headlines to history books in one bad afternoon. And here's where the insanity comes in. Russia is not flying into Estonian airspace because they need a shortcut. They are doing it because they want to show the West they can. It's chest thumping from Putin. It is the international version of drunk guys at a bar bumping shoulders and waiting to see who swings first. Now, the difference is that when drunk guys swing, you get a broken nose. When nuclear powers swing, you could get World War III. Now NATO has to walk that fine line between deterrence and disaster. Too soft, and Russia thinks it can keep pushing. Too hard, and suddenly you have jets scrambling, missiles on standby, and the world one radar blip away from a headline nobody survives to read. Britain throwing down that warning is a reminder that this game of chicken is not just for show. Somebody hits the gas, we all go over the cliff. And that, Wolfpack, is the madness of the moment. A 21st century standoff that looks a lot like the 20th century Cold War, only louder, faster, and scarier. Welcome to your WTF Wednesday. And with what Donald Trump just pulled, it's time to talk about his circus act at the United Nations. So here is Donald at the United Nations. And I swear to God, the man has the attention span of a goldfish on Red Bull. Picture it, the UN General Assembly, flags lined up, delegates in their suits, cameras pointing at the podium, the entire world in the room, and there's Donald, chest out, chin high, like he is giving a campaign rally in front of the world's diplomats. First he was Mr. Red, White, and Blue, standing with Ukraine. Brave talk. We will stand with Kiev. Cue the flags, cue the applause. Then he turns on a dime, goes after Zelensky right there in the White House. We all saw it, with the cameras rolling and the press hanging on every word. This is not some private huddle. This is the global stage. The world is watching. Zelensky is sitting there like a man who has Russian bombs falling on his country, and Trump decides to cut him down in that meeting. Again, that's past history. Questions his honesty, Trump does. Treats him like a street hustler who just walked into Mar-a-Lago. He makes him squirm in front of the media. Vance goes after him under the lights like the United States is auditioning for Putin's approval. And now at the United Nations, Trump, in front of every ally, every rival, every lens on the planet, he follows it up by blasting NATO. Not Putin, not Russia, NATO. The alliance that has kept Europe from sliding into war for decades. He calls out allies as freeloaders. Trump scolds them about oil, about defense spending, as if the enemy in Paris or Berlin is there instead of Moscow. And you know who's grinning ear to ear when he does it? Vladimir Putin, because Trump's tantrum is the best propaganda real Russia could ask for. And now here he is this week, Trump, swinging back again, saying, I swear to you people, if you haven't heard this, saying with a straight face that Ukraine can win back all its territory before Russia invaded if NATO just holds together. All of it, Crimea included. This from the guy, Trump, who humiliated Zelensky in public, gave Putin rhetorical cover 3 months ago. What the fuck is Trump doing? Pick a side. You cannot be pro-Ukraine on Monday, Putin's best buddy on Tuesday, screaming at NATO on Wednesday, and then by Friday you're the great liberator of Europe. This is not foreign policy. This is a clown spinning plates until they all crash on the floor. And the damage is not just to him. Allies do not know if Trump is in their corner or putting them in a corner. Enemies are watching the whiplash and loving every second of it. And the rest of us are left staring at the TV, wondering what the fuck Donald is talking about this time. 1 week he's Churchill, the next week Trump is Chamberlain, and by the weekend he is back to being Trump. Incoherent, dangerous, playing both sides until someone gets burned. And while Trump is busy turning foreign policy into a three-ring circus, the rest of the world is not sitting still. And with Britain staring down Moscow in the skies, Britain's also making waves on the ground. Not just Britain either, though. A handful of Western nations just made a move that is rattling the entire Middle East. The United Kingdom, Canada, Portugal, and Australia all just said it out loud. Palestine is a state. 4 Western powers, not fence-sitters, not backbenchers, stepping in with recognition and joining more than 140 countries worldwide. This is not a polite diplomatic note. That is a signal flare. And the question is, what does it mean? On paper, it sounds historic. In real life, it does not bulldoze checkpoints. It does not stop bombs. It does not erase blockades. But it does change the narrative. Now, for decades, the West has treated recognition like a carrot dangled at the end of the peace process. These 4 countries just said, screw it. The carrot is now on the table. Critics are screaming reckless. They say this rewards Hamas. Mainly Israel says this. It undermines Israel. It destabilizes the region. Supporters are saying what has been waiting to be delivered except body bags. They argue recognition is the only way to push this frozen conflict into a new gear. Both sides are furious. That alone tells you how big the move is. Now look at the timing. This is not landing in a calm chapter. Gaza is on fire. The West Bank is boiling. Israel is led by one of the most hawkish governments in its history. Dropping recognition now is not a coincidence. It is a shot across the bow. It is the West saying the endless waiting game is done. So what happens next? Well, Israel's not going to hand over land because Portugal signed a document. Netanyahu is not going to pack up settlements because Australia spoke up. But it changes the pressure. It tells Israel the circle of unconditional Western support is smaller tonight than it was yesterday. And it tells Palestinians that even if Washington keeps stalling, other Western capitals are willing to say the word state. Now, this is why this matters. Not because peace breaks out tomorrow, but because the conversation shifts. And when you are stuck in the same cycle for 50 years, even a shift in language calling Palestine a state can be dynamite. It will not solve the war, but it rattles the cage of the people who pretend the war is unsolvable. And in this world gone mad, rattling the cage might be the only way to make anyone pay attention. And while diplomats are redrawing maps with words, the planet itself does not give a damn about recognition papers. It is burning, it is flooding, it is screaming, which brings us to New York, where the United Nations just threw down a challenge at Climate Week. So while the Middle East is shaking from diplomatic earthquakes, here in New York, the planet itself is sending a different kind of shockwave. Climate Week had kicked off, and the United Nations climate chief stepped up to the microphone and basically told world leaders to knock it off. Enough with the promises. Enough with the lofty speeches. Show me action. Show me proof. Now on the surface, there is good news. Clean energy investment last year hit nearly $2 trillion. That's a record. 10 years ago, those numbers were not even close. Wind, solar, electric vehicle batteries, all of it has surged. But here's the catch. Scientists say it's still not enough, not even close. The gap between what leaders promise and what they actually deliver is wide enough to drive an oil tanker through. And those tankers are still sailing every single day. And this is the insanity. Politicians fly into New York. They talk about green dreams. They pose with activists. They take selfies under banners that say net zero. Then they hop back on private jets and approve another pipeline or another drilling lease because somebody in their district whined about gas prices. This is not hypocrisy light. This is full-scale global gaslighting. They talk about saving the world, but the world is literally on fire. Now look at the headlines just in the past year. Heat records shattered in Europe, the United States, Asia, cities drowning from flash floods. Whole regions choking on wildfire smoke. We're not talking about warnings for 2050. We are talking about disasters right now. And still, leaders pat themselves on the back for spending trillions while refusing to cut the fossil fuels that caused the problem in the first place. It's like bragging about buying fire extinguishers while you keep pouring gasoline on the floor. So the UN is calling their bluff. Action or nothing. And here's the truth. The planet does not care about your promises. The atmosphere does not give points for effort. It reacts to carbon, period. And leaders do not bridge the gap between their shiny speeches and the dirty math of reality. We are all going to learn that lesson the hard way. The world is burning, and the people in charge are still fiddling with press releases. Okay, we've covered wars, borders, and a planet on fire. But sometimes the Wednesday WTF, does not come from governments or armies. Sometimes it comes from a comedian with a microphone. And the wave of support pouring in is unlike anything we've seen in years. ABC, we all know, had pulled Jimmy Kimmel, in case you haven't heard, all of us pretty much know, off the air after his monologue about Charlie Kirk's death set off outrage. Next, the focus shifted to the backlash against that decision, with Hollywood and the music world rallying around Kimmel in force. More than 400 names had signed on to an open letter organized by the ACLU, Jennifer Aniston, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Ben Affleck, Selena Gomez, the list goes on. That is not a few tweets. That is the cultural A-list saying enough is enough. And it's not just signatures. Sarah McLachlan and Jewel pulled out of Disney events in protest. Other actors are calling for people to cancel Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. They are saying hit Disney where it hurts, in the wallet. Writers Guild, SAG, AFTRA, unions across the industry are speaking up. Damon Lindelof, the guy who co-created Lost, said he will not work with Disney until Kimmel was reinstated. That's not Hollywood gossip. That's serious pressure from these people. So let us pause on this for a second. We know what happened, but this is not about whether you agree with Kimmel's joke. This is about whether corporate media can be shoved around by a political pressure every time a host crosses a line. If the answer is yes, then late comedy is dead. Not just comedy, commentary, satire, truth-telling, hell, my podcast. Not putting myself on that level, but anybody who has a critique about Trump, the delusional one, the whole damn ecosystem, lets people speak truth to power gets choked. Think about who is celebrating this suspension. It is not people who love free speech. It is politicians who would silence critics tomorrow if they could. And now they see they can call up a network, throw a tantrum, get a voice yanked off the air. That should scare the hell out of everyone, left or right. So here we are, a comedian got pulled, and suddenly you have megastars, musicians, unions, even everyday fans rallying in defense. Not because they all worship Jimmy Kimmel, but because they know what is really at stake. And here's the truth. Free speech does not survive because the government protects it. It survives because people refuse to let it be taken away. Right now, these people were refusing loudly, and that is worth paying attention to. And because of all this, with the support for Jimmy and from all the public outrage, the breaking news, most of you have heard this, but in case you haven't, Jimmy Kimmel Live would return to the air on ABC yesterday night, Tuesday night. The network had announced this in a statement. Listen to the statement from them. Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. A spokesperson for the Walt Disney Company, which owns ABC, said in a statement to CNN, "It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday." By the way, some backstory. Apparently they wanted Jimmy to apologize to Trump, to the world, I don't know, and pay a fine. So Kimmel's back, and the rest of us can breathe slightly better, knowing that free speech won this round. But will this hold? Will this be the norm? Maybe someone is finally showing some balls to stand up to Donald? What next? Any other pushback in this country against Donald the dictator? I'm talking to you, Republicans. All right, Wolfpack, here's the deal. I need to hear from you. You could email me, you can drop me a voicemail, you know the drill. These are the two lanes. Now, I'll be straight with you. Only a few of you have done it in the last couple of months. And I'm grateful for those that did right. But the rest of you, you listen, you nod, you shake your head, you laugh, and then you disappear. This is your chance to jump in. Send me an email. Leave a message. Do not overthink it. A couple of sentences. 30 seconds of your voice. That's all it takes. Because this is not just me talking at you. This show is a world gone mad. And it works best when the Wolfpack is part of it. So make some noise. I want to know you're out there. wolfpacktalks@gmail.com or 833-399-9653, 24/7 toll free. Okay, the episode turned out to be a full episode. I plowed through it. Thank you for your indulgence. And again, apologies for missing the Monday episode. And the cough drop in my mouth, if you hear sounds, that's just me sucking on a cough drop. I'm going to go relax. This has been a World Gone Mad, WTF Wednesday edition. I'm Jeff Allen Wool. Hopefully I'll be back Friday because someone has to say the shit that no one else will. And apparently that job's mine. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, stay skeptical, stay focused, most of all, stay hopeful.